Welcome to WAHNcast, the official podcast of the Women's Affordable Housing Network. This is our space to connect, get real, and talk about what's really happening in housing, from bold leadership to resident stories that ground us in purpose. We're here to amplify voices, strengthen each other, and share the kind of conversations you'd have with a friend who gets it. Because when our voices are amplified, our communities grow stronger, and so do we. I'm happy to share our latest conversation led by Ashley Northcutt, President and CEO of the Women's Affordable Housing Network. Joining her is this year's inspiring honoree, Beth Baar, Vice President of Asset Management, Construction, and Stabilized Assets at Senair, and our 2025 WAHNderful Woman of the Year. Together, Ashley and Beth dive into leadership, innovation, and what it means to make lasting impact in affordable housing.
So, Beth, I'm so excited to talk to you today because one of the things I love about Women's Affordable Housing Network is we don't know all the great people. And you were nominated as WAHNderful Woman of the Year. And the little bit of time I've been able to spend with you has just been the word I was thinking about when I was getting almost lovely. Like your energy is so nice to be around, so strong, so smart, easy to talk to. And so I can only imagine that impact on people that get to work with you every single day.
I very much try to be positive and keep it positive. And I encourage everyone who's around me, if I ever start getting negative, please call me on it. Let me know right away, because that is not the way I want to be. And it's really funny because most of the time, I'm no problem, but every so often, that little negative thought slips in there. And it's usually someone who's close to me, like Miranda Biles, I worked with her for years. Just that. Let's talk about this. Let's think about how this happened. And she's just so good about helping me recenter. But yeah, I really want to be positive for people because I want them to be positive and surround themselves with positivity. So I'm very big on trying to make things pleasant for everyone.
It's good to know you're human and that sometimes it sneaks in. That's amazing. Can you tell us about your path into affordable housing? I know you went from volunteering at a community action agency to now leading at Senair. So I would love to hear a little bit about that journey.
Sure. Yeah. I started out just volunteering at this local nonprofit that was in my little tiny town of Watoma, Wisconsin. I started doing a newsletter for the family literacy program, helped with literacy events. I basically just did whatever they asked me to do. Eventually, I was offered a job as a babysitter. So I watched babies while their parents were working on getting their GEDs. I loved it. Loved babies. Came from a huge family. We always had babies. That was something that was special for me, and it fit right just perfectly for me. But then when the littles left, I'd stalk the hallways looking for someone to help. I'd hear comments of people making frustrated comments, and I'd peek my head in and say, "Can I help with something?" And really, it was computer issues that I was helping with. Sometimes stuffing envelopes, designing flyers, whatever needed being done, I was there to help. Eventually, I was offered a position as a business development coordinator where I would help entrepreneurs write business plans and start businesses. And that kind of kicked off my search of what I wanted to do. I went through almost every department in that nonprofit, and I landed in housing. I still wasn't sure about what I really wanted to do, but it got me on the ground floor in the affordable housing industry. I worked my way up to a property manager, and eventually I had this experience that helped me decide what I really wanted to do. I went to this elderly woman's home in a rural area, helped her complete a housing application. But as I got there, overgrown lawn, there's this protective layer of dust on the car. The stairs to the door that were broken. She shuffles to the door, opens it. We sit at the kitchen table. She sets down a cup of coffee in front of me. I don't drink coffee, but the good girl that my mom raised, I drank every drop with a smile on my face. She tells me about herself, tells me her husband passed away the year before. He had worked hard their whole life, but now all that was left was their home. She didn't have any other assets. She had very little income, and she realized she could not stay in that home. They lived there for so many years, but now she can't take care of it. She can't do the maintenance. She can't get up the stairs to the second floor. She had to move her bedroom to the living room downstairs. She's concerned about getting her to her doctor in town. She can't drive. And I'm thinking, wow, she needs this housing that it's designed for seniors. It's located right in town near her doctor, near the grocery store, the library. It's perfect. So I'm just thinking this as we're going through and finishing up the application, finish it up. And I tell her, I'll have to go through and verify everything, but it looks like you qualify to live in our housing. She stood up, tears are running down her face. She slowly walks toward me, puts her hands on my face, and kisses me on the lips. As a recovering germaphobe, that was a little startling, but I did realize that was pure gratitude coming from her, that we were going to provide affordable, safe, healthy housing. And that is when I realized, okay, helping this woman get into a house that is designed for her, perfect for her, this is what I want to do. I want to work in affordable housing. So through that process, I did not go to college right out of high school. I got married right away. And so I didn't get my bachelor's degree in nonprofit leadership until I was 41.
Good for you.
Working full time. So I had to basically do it remotely back when they were just starting to do remote education. So we were all figuring it out. But since then, I've worked my way up various positions, always in affordable housing, the last 23 years, focusing on managing and developing affordable housing. And eventually I managed various departments, worked my way up to where I am now at a different organization, but now I'm the vice president of asset management, construction, and stabilized assets. So that was a long, winding journey. It got me here today.
And it's amazing because you got to see little pieces of everything. But I love that story that you tell, like when that lady kissed you on the lips, like what a raw emotion. She didn't know you either. And what a raw, like you just changed her whole life. And I'm just glad you stayed in housing. And I was like listening to your story thinking, at any point were you thinking, oh my gosh, I can get paid for doing this and change people's lives? That's what we do in affordable housing. But before we move on, one of my favorite facts about you, because you talked about impacting the babies, holding the babies, and that was part of your job. Tell everybody how many siblings you have.
So I have 10 siblings, 6 sisters, 1 brothers. Yeah, we're a big family. We love each other, and it was loud and opinionated and lots of voices, but I love it. To this day, I still feel like I need to have noise around me because I'm so used to that. I still feel when I cook, I have the hardest time cooking for 2 people. I'll still cook these giant meals and stick them in the freezer. We'll have some later.
You have me beat with that many siblings, but I have 3 brothers. And my mom actually had a home daycare and when I was older in life, but she did it for teachers. So she had the summer off. So our house had 5 babies at all times under 3, except for the summer. And then my brothers, and I feel the same way. I'm like, I need noise. We need more food. But I also think that we got set up early in life for leadership. When you say opinionated, loud, like chaotic, like I think that's very good home training.
You learn to negotiate.
Exactly. So when you talk about being the VP of construction, lease up, asset management, why is that work so critical? Like, why did you decide to take all your talent and focus on that sector?
As I was working my way up, my amazing boss gave me this choice of either working in development or doing a small grant-based position that I would have to reapply for every year. I chose development specifically because my dad was a contractor who built single-family homes. So I've been around construction sites my whole life. I enjoyed going to the jobs and helping. Us girls usually had the cleaning jobs, which was fine, but we'd go around and clean up after the contractors, make everything look good. And then once it was completed, we cleaned the whole house and then you put it up for sale. But that was kind of part of it, part of what we were providing. When I was a young mother, my son got sick and he woke up one night at me and looked at me and he goes, "Look at all the pretty birds flying around in the room." And I put my hand on his head, took his temperature. He had a fever of 104, was hallucinating.
My gosh.
So there is that split, heart-wrenching second where I thought, oh my goodness, how will I pay for this doctor's bill? Even as I thought that, I was picking him up, putting his coat on, getting his sister ready, and going into the emergency room. But I remember having that thought. and how other people go through that every day. They're worried about how are they going to pay the basic expenses? How are they going to provide this housing? How are they going to pay for the doctor's bills? This housing that we provide in affordable housing takes that one thing off their plate. They can focus on the other priorities. They hopefully don't have to have that terrifying half second where they're worried about if they're going to be able to pay the doctor's bill. But that's not enough. The United States has only 35 rental housing units for every 100 extremely low-income renters. This shortage is in every state, every major metropolitan area. The development of affordable housing and getting it to stability is crucial to increasing the availability of this housing. To provide this help, the affordable housing development needs to get built. So we have to make sure the construction is on budget. We've got to make sure they're following the regulations of the affordable housing program. We have to be sure it leases up, gets the cash to pay the bills of the development, and needs to stay occupied. What do we got to do there? We've got to be sure it has good management, keep the property in good repair, keep the property safe, build and keep a reputation that shows people that this property provides safe, affordable housing to those who need it. Not a place where someone's, I don't want that to be near me. No, it's okay. This is a good housing property. I want it here. So this work helped me towards my personal life vision, which is a world of good. I know it sounds Pollyanna-ish, but I try to make every decision by thinking about, will this help the world be a better place? My vision is of a world where parents don't have to have that split second thought about, can I pay for this? Ultimately, my goal is to put us out of business.
Yes,
Let's put the housing industry out of business. A world where we're not needed.
that would be a dream.
All of these components just pulled me into the affordable housing world of construction and lease up and getting those units stabilized and keeping me here. This is really what drives.
That's amazing. And I'm digesting everything you just said. It's so true. And the foundation like that, when someone has a safe, comfortable, clean home, so many other problems become less. And one thing I always think through, like you were saying, like in that split second, you were worried about your son. How are we going to pay for this? And people live with that pressure all the time, day in and day out. And how would you show up at work or even in public with all that pressure differently than if you had that safe, affordable housing? It changes the whole world. So doing your piece where you are is changing the world slowly but surely. And I agree. I love that you said, I hope the whole affordable housing business goes out the door one day. We don't even have to talk about it. We can go do something else. So when you're balancing that feeling, because we all know it, there's an intangible feeling in the affordable housing industry, no matter what you're doing. I stayed in public accounting for years because of this, because I was so into the affordable housing industry itself, not so much debits and credits and tax returns. But when you are dealing with that and focused on the mission, how do you guide through complex projects and the people you're working with through the development life cycle, knowing all that you're changing at the same time, but there are these complexities that you have to work through to get there?
Really be willing to change, be flexible. And if someone has an idea, let's try it and go back to it. Talking to those people who are in the trenches so that you can really understand, get a holistic view so you can see what's happening on the micro level and apply that to the bigger picture. Listening, understanding that you keep your vision at the forefront. What is your vision? Because I have my personal life vision, but every project has a vision. How's it supposed to look like at the end of the day? And then just working to make that vision a reality. Listening, looking for ways to make things better, being willing to change, providing tools. What can my people do if they have the right tools to do it, to make it easier, to make it faster? And then they have something that makes it easier and faster. Then they have time to apply thinking power to the big picture, the other items that are happening every day.
That's a good time for me to highlight your AI skills and your tech skills. I know you touched on it earlier that you were walking down the hall. How can I help? How can I help? And one of the things you helped with was fixing computers. I'm always intrigued. You pop in my brain first, you and Anne. I'm always like, what would Beth do in this situation? Because I know she uses AI more efficiently, which frees you up to do the bigger things.
Yeah, Anne is so amazing. Anne Hollander, she's great. She 100% has this in hand. I still think of myself as a newbie. She told me I'm not.
You're not, you're not.
But looking at, when you think of AI, you got to look at, it can be used in so many different places. AI can be used during underwriting. You're going through and looking at a environmental report, and you can put a prompt in there that will help you pull out those things that are important that you need to know about, as opposed to having to read a 40-page document. That AI can help you put together a tool that will help your team. I created an asset management. It started out as a construction and lease up asset management workbook, and basically takes them from the moment they touch the project through stabilization. Now we've added some tools that turned it into a just regular asset management workbook, not just for the construction team, because now they can track things and just understand how things that are happening on a project are impacting the project. Helps us identify emerging risks. So before it really becomes a big problem, it can tell us about little trends that it's seeing that we can pay attention to that will help us keep it from becoming a risk project. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of AI. It can be used by the property managers. I still am amazed at the phone call that I listened in at our presentation at CHAM conference, where it sounded like Anne was talking to a person. She was throwing things in there, different situations, different scenarios that you would think an AI would never know about, and it was able to answer everything. So there's so many things that it can be applied to. I think it's very important, and I think it's going to be very important for the future, because if you won't embrace it and at the very least learn so that you understand how it works and how to write a basic prompt, I don't think you're going to be here long. People are going to be businesses are looking for people who understand how to use this, how to just maximize your work and your time by using AI. So
Yeah,
I think it's amazing.
it's fascinating. I can't wait. She's going to teach a free course virtually for one in October. And then we're going to do some paid series training for anyone that wants to learn more. And I cannot wait, because I keep reading about it. You guys are my goals. I try every day. I'm like, okay, wait, let me try and build an agent. That's my new challenge, because you taught me about that when I saw you. But yeah, even in the accounting industry, they're saying we're not hiring staff anymore at some of the big four. The staff position will be done by AI. And I guess it's just fascinating to see how quickly it's changing. I have a friend that son just started at Georgia Tech, and he wanted to do computer science or computer programming. And they said, you don't want to major in that, it's going to be very hard to get a job. So yeah, like your enthusiasm for AI, I hope everyone's listening closely to embrace that, no matter where you are in your career, to see what it can do for us. To continue on that conversation and teaching your people through the development cycle and balancing compliance and construction realities, how do you focus on community needs when you're overseeing these investments?
I think feedback is so important. Understanding you can't just go to a city and plop a development in there and assume it's going to work. You have to understand the background, the history. And so I think it's very important to have these feedback sessions where you sit down with, whether it's the people, the developers, the contractors, talk to them. What are their needs? What are their concerns? What are their dreams? What can we do to make them happy in the location where we're going to be? And I think it's just so important to hear from them. Have a feedback session, have a session where they can just express what's on their mind. That's going to help you provide something that is very useful to the area and help the area develop.
And so efficient, because you're going to the people that are living this life, right? Like you don't have to guess then. You're taking the guesswork out. And it seems like from that answer, you're working at Sonera is quite a match made in heaven as a nonprofit financial organization committed to empowering its communities. How does your role there advance that mission?
I think I'm like the steward of the mission, one of many, one of many. I help translate the organization's high level goals into tangible, long lasting, affordable housing by protecting the financial investment, make sure that there's physical quality there, and just championing the long term well being of our properties and our tenants. We want to make them happy. We want them to be happy and living in safe housing. So ultimately, we create these homes where people can live safely, be productive members of society, and then develop these communities to be vibrant, great areas to live.
It seems like a dream role, Beth. It seems like a dream role, and especially for you.
I
And
pinch
you
myself every day.
Yeah, it's just it's just a really great match. I just feel I can, like, feel the energy. I feel like when someone finds the right place to work for them that celebrates who they are and they celebrate who the company is because you all have the same dream. And it's all in this case, it seems like it's all about the residents really, and then you build based on that, which is just very amazing. And I see this in affordable housing, but it's so nice to get to talk to the people that are doing it.
When Mark McDaniel set up the company, one of the first things he said was, I want to make this about the people, about the people that live in the housing that we build, but then also about the people that work for us.
Yeah.
And they very much make that the forefront.
That's great. And I believe you, Beth, too. Not that I wouldn't trust you, but I know several people that work at or have worked at Scenair, and I never hear anything but great feedback and stories about working there. So that's really nice. Let's highlight a recent Scenair initiative, like maybe Fund 42 or 43 that you're particularly proud of.
So yeah, Fund 43, I feel like I got to take a step back. So the asset management team helps bring or keep investors with Scenair by managing the risk well. So by reporting on time, making sure the properties are run well. So when our team created Fund 43, which is the largest fund in our organization's history, that was a major accomplishment. It was accomplishment and testimony to what the asset management team does. So the fund provides 33 separate affordable housing developments, so various sizes. It provides 2,455 affordable housing units developed or preserved for people who are low and moderate income. And it's going to support 5,647 residents. So we're going to take a bite out of that, the housing deficit that we have for low income people is affordable housing. So that's huge. And I feel proud that we are asset management team. We are a big part of that. We keep the investors here, keep them coming back, and we bring in new investors just because we're doing good work.
Congratulations. I cannot wait to hear more about that. That is a huge accomplishment. How fantastic. And I can just see it on your face. I wish this was a video so everyone could see. This is a proud moment. Like Scenair, Beth are changing the world right now. That's what's happened. And that's going to be in Michigan?
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, Michigan, it's like it's the Midwest, but part of the East Coast too. Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, let's see, Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia. I think that's all of it.
So many areas with so much more housing. Amazing. Oh, good. I'm glad that's the one you wanted to share about. How amazing.
Yes, awesome.
So Scenair's lucky to have you, and we feel extremely lucky. We're disappointed that we just met you recently, most of us. We wish we met you earlier, but we feel so lucky to have you as part of WAHN, freely offering your time and talent. Most recently agreed to serve as our professional development lead, and to continue that excitement, knowing that you were named Wonderful Woman of the Year this year. What does that mean to you?
Well, it was a huge surprise and a huge honor. But like in my role, it's the intersection of complex finance and critical social needs. The work is behind the scenes. It's not out in front. There's not a lot of accolades. I quietly work hard and soldier along behind the scenes. It's about spreadsheets, construction schedules, compliance documents. But this award tells me what I do matters. It's a public acknowledgement that my work has impact on people's lives. And it makes me feel like I'm a key player in providing transformative housing to strengthen communities. So it was a surprise, an amazing surprise. And it makes me feel like, okay, now this is big, and it makes me want to give back more and help others, whether it's the individual people that we're helping or mentoring people to help them along in their journey through life.
Which helping people has been a theme through your whole life. That's one I love hearing the story from the beginning and all the different jobs you had. And one thing I do love about the network is we have such a variety of people across the industry involved that when we do ask for nominations and look for awardees, people highlight everyone doing the great work. We get amazing applications, but I do love that it highlights people that maybe we don't always see on every list, but without them, those deals will probably not be getting done. So it's nice to hear you say that. And I'm glad that we are highlighting, like our members are highlighting everyone involved in the industry. How do you support and mentor the women in development and construction spaces? You talked about that, of wanting to do that more, and especially like in an often male dominated field.
Sure. Yeah, I see that as not just the right thing to do, but it's something that will really help the industry. This male dominated industry, having a diversity of voices and perspective leads to better outcomes. So I think if I'm mentoring a woman to do that, it's only going to make the entire industry better. Thinking back, my dad, the single family housing contractor, always said, I build for my wife. So the men on the crew there worked on the technical build. They figure stuff out technically. My mom would walk through and look about, okay, how can we live in this space? What do I want? What would help? So my dad took her comments and applied them to the homes he built. And those homes sold like hotcakes. They were gone. I put them on the market. We're done. So having that women's point of view just didn't make the home beautiful. It made them more desirable and the business more successful. So what I saw in my dad's business is what I champion in my work today. I support women like Miranda Baar in her development and construction, and now in the stabilized team, not just giving them a leg up. I feel like we should ensure our projects are better designed and more thoughtfully managed, and ultimately more successful in serving the families if we mentor these women to have a job in the affordable housing industry. Women bring a different thought style and insights than men. And having women and men is a good thing. Getting more women in this industry, having them be part of the construction process, it's going to make it better. And I've always believed in share what you know. So I mentioned Miranda Baar. I feel like I taught her everything I knew. And now she's teaching me everything she knows. So that mentoring can grow into a lifelong friendship and really a two-way street in ideas and thoughtfulness.
That is the definition of a great mentorship program or a match, when you've taught what you knew at that section, but then, like you said, friendship, and then you're both learning from each other because everyone has strengths as they flower into what their leadership look like. I love that your dad took your mom's opinions back then on the house and really respected that and said, I build for her approval, basically, because then I know both brains have come together. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and I'm trying to remember who said it. I can't remember. It was on Oprah's podcast, but they said, it was a nun. She was saying, if you're only serving, like only leading with all male or all women, then you only have half the brain power that you need to get done in society. And what you just said brought that back up in my memory. It's so true. Like, we have a whole brain when we all work together because we think about things so differently, and our strengths coming together just makes us that much stronger. I like what you said about mentoring, helping the industry now and in the future. What do you think is the biggest opportunity or challenge in affordable housing in the next 5 years?
I think the opportunity is going to be innovation. The financial challenges that we're working with force us to think differently. So the traditional methods of building housing might be essential, but they may not be enough to meet our current. They're definitely not enough to meet our current need. So I feel like the biggest opportunity is going to be to leverage innovation to help us get through it. Modular and offsite construction, those are a huge opportunity. I was talking with someone about it the other day, and they're like, yeah, we need this big factory and to build it and make sure you have what you need. And so we were talking through it, and I'm like, how about building a big temporary factory? Because they do that. They build temporary factories. Do that. It's less expensive. And now you can pull it apart and move it to the next location so that you're close to it, so that doesn't have a lot of transportation costs. But we can really reduce the build times, lower labor costs, achieve a higher level of quality control. Not just about building faster, but building smarter. The other thing I think is harnessing AI, which I went into that earlier, so I won't discuss a lot of that now, but I feel like AI can help us with some of the basic things that anyone today can use just for summarizing reports. Getting further into it, a little deeper, is analyzing big data sets. You can pull data that gives a holistic view of potential markets in minutes instead of waiting days, weeks. So you can identify potential risks that might be missed by humans. For instance, the likelihood of a project falling out of compliance. If there are little situations that happen on a frequent basis, that could be just a reminder or a red flag that you can watch for and plan for. You could identify trends that would impact the property's long-term financial stability. For instance, like a big HVAC system going out of service. It can identify trends that are maybe maintenance issues that are coming up on a more frequent basis. It could predict when it's going to go down. So you can develop then a preventative maintenance plan that's going to help you stay away from that. So I think AI is going to be huge. The challenge is the financial gap. The construction costs make it more difficult, expensive. Higher interest rates make it harder for projects to pencil. The cost of labor and materials, all of that directly impacts the ability to develop these properties. So I think in a nutshell, the opportunities are using modular and offsite, harnessing AI, and the challenge is financial.
Yeah, financial. Do you have advice that you would give emerging women leaders approaching complex projects or capital-driven work, considering that?
Okay, I think an overall thing is embracing lifelong learning. We will never know it all, but taking a few moments in the morning to read an article about the industry or something coming up, or maybe it's a way of doing or solving a problem, reading more about AI, all of that, you embrace that thought that you don't know it all, you never will know it all. Let's learn something every day. That's going to be helpful. Learn and use AI. Always say that is going to be very helpful. If you don't, you might be left behind. If you do, you're going to have a tool that you can use and make you marketable. Embracing the numbers. Capital-driven work is a language of data. So you got to learn it fluently. You have to have a command of the financials, understand the pro forma, understand the operating budget. That's really going to give you huge credibility if you can go in and talk the talk with people about the financial situation. Speak with conviction. In a male-dominated field, you hear those men talk about, hey, this is what it is. I had an early situation where I was on a phone. I was the developer, and I was on a phone with our architect who knew me, liked me, had a great relationship, and then two new contractors. And I would say something and they'd talk over me. And so then they'd start talking again, and then I'd give a comment and they'd talk over me. And that wasn't right. And I needed to come out and say, hey, you know who I am? I'm the owner. I'm the developer. You need to listen to me. And it did work for that meeting, but I had to remind them every meeting we had after that.
And I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, speaking with conviction, making sure that your opinions and thoughts are clearly understood by everyone. Another little thing, be a problem solver, not a note taker. So if you focus on understanding the core issue, proposing solutions, actively contribute to the strategy, rather than furiously taking notes the whole time, it's going to be difficult for you to really be seen as that problem solver. So take the time, be present, and listen, and use AI to take notes for you.
I was just gonna say, this is all such great advice. And two of my favorites are like speaking with the conviction, telling people who you are in the room, and then don't be the note taker. And then I was gonna say, Beth, can't we use AI to take notes nowadays on all of our calls? So that frees everyone up.
So one final thing I just wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Find your sponsor, that mentor who's going to give you advice, give you influence, or to advocate for you, or seek out leaders who will put your name forward as a solution or someone who can solve the problem. Just making sure that you have that person who is going to help you along the way. That's going to be huge.
That's huge. And how do you do that? Networking is a great way, right?
Yeah, getting out there, going to visit different properties, and then going to the conferences, talking to people, being willing to put yourself out there and make sure that they know who you are so that they can call on you. But then if it's someone that you feel might be a good mentorship, you can follow up on that as well.
Yes, we want to repeat that, rewind that, everyone, and listen to it one more time, because people are key in this work. But the work we do is heavy. We've touched on that a little bit. You're very passionate about it. So there's a mental load that goes on in this kind of work. And I'm so thankful that you use AI, because I know it frees up some of your time. So what do you do to keep grounded outside of work, whether it's hobbies or sources of inspiration? How do you spend your time so that you can come back full and do this work with your positivity?
Yes, with the positivity, a couple of different things. I read. I love reading. My mom, I used to get yelled at the dinner table because I'd sit there with my little book and read. And mom and dad wanted me to talk and tell people about my day, but I was a reader. That's huge. Taking time for you to just, and it might be reading for pleasure. I love historical fiction. So it might be something like that. But sometimes it's about learning a new concept, that kind of thing. But then completely personal is just looking for beauty in our world. I go to the beach and I look for shells. As I'm walking along, I'm looking for neat little rocks. I am an amateur rock hound. And then going out at night and looking at the stars. The poster behind me, which no one will be able to see, is the pale blue dot poster. It was an image taken by Voyager 1 on February 14th, 1990. And it was at a distance of 3.7 billion miles from our sun. But it's a picture of our Earth. And that's a picture of every last one of us that were alive in 1990 in that little tiny dot. And that helps keep me grounded, helps keep me humble. We're here to help people and to make sure that we can all live and have a rewarding life. And so this going out, looking at the stars and contemplating the fact that it's all of us together, that's very helpful. So yeah, reading and then just taking the time to enjoy beauty in nature.
That's such an inspiration. It's so true. Like, we're just here to help each other. Like you just said, I've seen the quote, we're all just here walking each other home. We all deserve the same access to resources and homes and all the things. So that was nice, Beth. What's one piece of advice, if you were asked by someone, what's one piece of advice you would give women working in affordable housing? It could be about anything.
You can't pour anything from an empty cup. And what that means is you do have to take time for yourself to keep yourself relaxed and able to do the job. And how do you keep that cup full so you have some to pour is take time to do what makes you happy, do what relaxes you, whether it's a massage or beach walks or reading. It can be anything, but making sure that you practice self-care is so important to keep you at your best.
That is great advice. It's so true. You got to put your seatbelt on first. What is it? You got to do your air mask first on the airplane, right? So that you can help everybody else. That is great advice. Now everyone got to hear exactly why you are the Wonderful Woman of the Year. Anyone that just listened to this WAHNcast will have no question on how you were nominated, why you were chosen. We're so excited you're part of our community, Beth, and I can't wait to celebrate all the things we do together in the future. And thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun and I very much enjoy it. And I very much enjoy just sharing the mission and sharing what we can do to spread it and make it work.
Yes, and I can't wait to see what we do. It's going to be amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks for being here with us on WAHNcast, the official podcast of the Women's Affordable Housing Network. Every guest, every story, every listen helps us keep this space real, rooted, and resonant, and we're so glad you're a part of it. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their time and knowledge with us, to our sponsors for making this platform possible, and to you for tuning in, sharing, and helping us keep this conversation going. Be sure to follow, rate, and share WAHNcast wherever you listen, and bring a friend next time we save them a seat.